Winter Roses, Summer by Fairytalelovr. Chapter 41, Beyond the Wall. John was still shocked, his blood pumping quickly in his veins as Maester Aemon tended to his hand. He had thrust his sword, the lovely gift Dany had given him, into the walking dead man's body. But all it did was give him time to take a few steps back as the Lord Commander walked into the room from the other door. They watched in terrified disbelief as the previously deceased pulled the sword from his chest, as if it were only a mere inconvenience, and prepared to attack again. In a quick reflex born of years in the training yard, John took the lantern in Mormont's hand, ignoring the quick burst of pain when his flesh met the open flame, and threw it onto the attacker. "How bad is it, Maester?" Robb asked, hovering by. "I'm fine, brother," John insisted for what felt like the 100th time. Adam had been the first to meet him outside the Lord Commander's chambers, having been drawn by Ghost's anxious barking. He was hovering nearby as well, his hand at the pommel of his sword, as if eager to unsheath it on someone. Ghost had gone round the room, and met them at the other exit, not stepping more than a few feet away since then.
"The wound will heal nicely,"
Maester Aemon said.
"It shouldn't leave more than a faint scar. It was a remarkably light burn for an encounter with open flame." "It all happened too fast,"
John murmured. "I found it!" Sam exclaimed, coming into the room. "Oh, what happened? What's going on?" John chuckled.
"Were you lost in the library?"
"I wasn't lost. Anyway, what happened?" Mormont exclaimed the night's events as Maester Aemon wrapped up John's hand. The newcomer was shocked. "Oh, but that fits what I found, actually." Sam went on to explain how he had found a book in Maester Aemon's study about the Long Night. It described the others as a whole, more than what John and Robb had heard so much of from old Nan's stories growing up. The White Walkers, the figures of otherworldly power, were tall, white, and possessed superior strength. Whites were the foot soldiers, the dead men, women, and children and creatures the walkers had come across, touching them with their terrifying magic to give them an afterlife. Both of them answered to the authority of the Night King, an elusive figure, the strongest and most powerful, unstoppable. Sorry guys if you can hear that, that's terrible weather outside.
"He can't be unstoppable. Nothing is,"
Adam said. "Well, the book said the first men and children of the forest used daggers and spears and arrowheads to fight the Whites and White Walkers. But it doesn't say anything about the Night King."
"There must be a way, or they wouldn't have won the war," Robb said. "What kind of daggers? Because I put my sword through that thing's—"
John started. "The White," Sam cleared up.
"I put my sword through the White's heart, and all it did was stand back up, pull the sword out, and attack again." "Go back to the library, Tarly," Sam said, "and find the answer. It's in one of those books."
"A soldier who prefers dusty books," came the sneering, mocking voice from the door as Sir Alistair entered the room. Adam rolled his eyes, annoyed, but only clenched his hand around the pommel of his sword.
"It seems only dusty old books have the answers this time,"
Maester Aemon said, patting John's good hand.
"You rest that hand, son. No swords for you for a while. Let your knight do his job for a few days. Now, Tarly, if you have no urge for your bed, there's a book I want to read. Would you care to be my eyes?"
In his never-quenching thirst for knowledge, Sam was only too eager, so the two of them left. Greywind appeared from nowhere, snarling at the Master of Arms across from an almost snarling Ghost, leaving Sir Alistair in the middle of a dangerous threat, making him quickly leave as well. Adam smiled. "Good boys!" he exclaimed, throwing them treats he kept in his pocket. Greywind returned to his post at the door, as Ghost curled back up at John's feet, both very satisfied with themselves.
"I'm not so sure you should be encouraging that," Robb said, though he was amused. "They respond to threats," Adam said. "That man is a threat to my patience." John and Robb laughed as Mormont tried to conceal a chuckle. "We should finally get some rest," he said. I ordered some men to burn the bodies. Well, the whites. So we shouldn't have any more surprises.
John looked at his sword that was lying on the table.
Was the blade damaged?
John touched it with his left hand.
It doesn't seem so. I hope not, anyway. It was a gift from my wife. Best not upset the lady, then. Good night. And thank you once more, Lord Starling. I owe you my life.
He laughed as well.
Are you sure you are well?
Robb asked. Aye, brother, I am. My hand will be hurt for a while, but I am fine. No permanent damage.
Robb exhaled. Good. Adam, could you make sure he doesn't have any more heroics tonight?
The knight nodded.
Don't be ridiculous, John protested. The Lord Commander said he'd have extra patrols out, and the whites have been taken care of. Go back to bed, Adam. Not bloody likely, he said. I only regret I can't cover both your chambers at once. I'll be fine. I have a guard as well. Robb said. I'll see you in the morning.
John sighed.
Any chance? None whatsoever,
Adam replied even before the question was finished.
Well, would you at least stay inside? It'll be bloody cold in that drafty corridor.
Adam shrugged, as if it wasn't something that would have bothered him. John didn't say anything else, knowing it would fall on deaf ears. He slept heavily, tired to the bone, and every time he caught glimpses through Ghost's eyes, the direwolf was patrolling the wing, snarling at black brothers who were unkind to him. He woke up to a strange feeling, a siren's call, an urge he couldn't refuse. As Patrick helped him dress for the day, John couldn't help but think on the unfinished conversation he, Robb and Adam had had the previous day.
Maester Aemon, he called, coming into the library. Come in, John, he called back. How is the hand?
Well, thank you.
I wanted your opinion and wisdom. If I may ask for counsel? Always, John. Come by the fire and tell me what troubles you.
John crossed the room, sighing as he sat down.
I'm afraid I'm going to make an unpopular suggestion.
The Maester smiled.
No suggestion is all popular, John. There will always be someone who doesn't agree. Someone to call you foolish. Someone to say you're mad. Should that stop you?
The next morning, at breakfast, Sansa set down her cup to address what she and Ella had talked about the day before. Father, I have thought about your question, and about my betrothal to Lord Dane. If you feel it is what is best, then it would please me greatly.
Ned smiled. Truly? I don't want to be placated, Sansa. It will be you who will have to spend the rest of your life married to him.
Truly, Father, Lord Dane is a kind man. He is actually a boy, Arya said.
Sansa rolled her eyes.
He's the Lord of Starfall, and Lord Dondarrion says he is ready to be knighted. Then why hasn't he been? If Lord Dondarrion is a knight, is he not? If his squire, former squire, Sansa said, fine. If his former squire is ready to be knighted, then why hasn't he? Knowing why, that Edric refused to be knighted by anyone other than Arthur, Ella thought it best to change the subject. What matters is that, as Sansa said, Lord Dane is a kind man, and comes from a powerful, important house. Well, Sansa always did want to marry a knight like the songs, Arya said. Too bad I won't be the prince, isn't it? Sansa blushed deeply. I wouldn't want to marry Prince Joffrey. Well, at least you're not as stupid as you were, Arya mumbled, blushing at Ella's censoring glare. Ned, seeing the potential for a fight, started talking about a possible journey up to the Blessed Island for Jon's name day. While several moons away yet, it would ensure his sons had time to travel back from the Wall, and Kragan would be old enough for the journey. With any luck, Ned would be able to join them himself, and perhaps go even as far as Winterfell.
Absolutely not!
Adam yelled so furiously that Jon flinched at his tone.
Adam, we have to. You don't have to anything. This is pure, utter lunacy. Lord Commander, you can't agree to this. I don't, Mormont said. Beyond the Wall is no place for a hunt. and I highly disagree that the heir to Winterfell and Lord Starling should come with us.
It's our decision to make, Robb said, though it was clear he wasn't as certain as Jon.
Look, I understand your hesitancy, but that attack last night only shows us what the White Walkers are real. If we leave the wildlings defenseless and weaponless, they will join the group of whites. We saw with our own eyes how they are turned. We need the wildlings on our side, not as muscle for the White Walkers against us. Sam found little information on the books, and Maester Aemon agrees that if we leave the wildlings beyond the wall, they will become the enemy. The wildlings have been our enemies for thousands of years, Mormont said.
Have they?
Maester Aemon asked. Or have we just started to treat them as enemies because our real enemy was not close enough to be seen? Look, Jon said. I know that wildlings have been in conflict with the Night's Watch for many years. All of us in this room grew up with our wet nurses telling us stories of the long night. We've all gone to sleep to have nightmares of monsters we've never believed to be real once we're adults. Last night, we all had that belief shattered. The others are real, and we might never know what made them go away and why they're back. The fact is that they are back, and they're pretty close if they've managed to turn people into whites just an hour's walk from Castle Black. The wall was built to keep them out, Mormont said. Aye, it was, Robb agreed. But how long until they breach it? Can it really stand when all of the wildlings have become their soldiers? By your own reports, there are giants and mammoths beyond the wall. Can your defences hold them out? And do you have any idea how many wildlings are even out there? Jon said. We need to get them south. Mormont drummed his fingers on the desk as he took a moment to think. The king won't accept that. Jon smiled, having predicted this argument. The king has no authority over the Watch, or the lands ruled by the Watch. You have the gift, and the new gift at your disposal. Do with it as you please, for as long as it is no threat to the Seven Kingdoms. With a lot of land and several homesteads abandoned. And that is only what I saw from the King's Road, Robb said. Exactly, Jon said. You could have them settle there, farm the lands, and their soldiers can help man the wall. They'll pay taxes to the Watch and even produce food. Everyone wins. What if they don't want to come? Adam asked, still fuming. We won't know that unless we try, Maester Aemon said. Lord Commander, you said yourself the wildlings are gathering behind this king beyond the wall, this Mance Rayder, a Night's Watch defector. Jon said. He will be able to understand how things in Westeros work, and if he really is their king, I'm sure he will at least listen to a proposal that would ensure the survival of his people. And if they won't receive us? Jon rolled his eyes. As Maester Aemon said, we won't know until we try. I'm still trying to understand why you and Robb have to go there, Adam asked through clenched teeth. Because the Lord Commander said, the Watch and the wildlings think themselves as the greatest of enemies. We need to be there to ensure dialogue. This could mean the survival of all of us, Jon insisted. And we don't need permission, Robb said. Adam threw him a scathing look. You might be disappointed to find out that you're here as acting Lord Stark. If you want to get technical, you need your father's permission to take a shit. The thing is that we are going, Jon intervened, when it looked like Robb would answer. It's not a question. It's not up for debate. Adam snorted. You are just like your father, you know. A fucking idealistic fool. Not thinking about all the implications of his actions. I only wish it wouldn't be your death. And he stormed out of the room. Jon and Robb frowned, confused. Their father was a practical man. Always had been. It was hard to be a northerner and be given to flights of fancy when you had harsh weather to deal with, much less lead a kingdom like that. But then Maester Aemon distracted them, and they didn't even think about it anymore. Isla walked into little Adam's nursery, smiling as she saw that the boy was awake and playing with Daenerys and Lyanna. "Hey," the mother greeted with a smile. "Have you come to join us? Aunt
Lyanna exclaimed, standing up and crossing the room to hug her. I'm sorry, Leah. I have come to steal your mamma. No, no, the girl said. Mamma, stay, and Aunt Aya, stay. Both women chuckled. How about we go to the stables later? Danny asked. Lyanna gasped excitedly, clapping. Wide, Mamma! We wide! Danny laughed. If you behave, we can have a short ride, little love. Lyanna smiled and went to sit back with little Adam, playing with her dolls like a calm little lady. They knew she would stop being the moment they turned their backs. What is it? Danny asked as soon as they left the nursery. Benjen asked me to come get you, Isla replied. The group John sent to investigate the volcano finally returned. Finally! It has been months! They walked to the audience hall and found Benjen and 3 men already inside. They bowed to her respectfully, but Danny only had eyes for the box lying on the floor at their feet. What? What is this? We found him in a cave at the foot of the volcano, milady, one of the unknown men said. That's why we came back slow. We didn't have good boxes and didn't want to break 'em. Danny felt tears flood her eyes as she knelt on the floor by the box, slowly extending her hands towards it. Do you know what these are? Treasure, milady. No worth to us, but treasure to you. The only thing that could come from fire like that. Danny touched the surface of one of the eggs. Dragon eggs. It was warm, warmer than the others she had in her room. These had surfaced with the eruption. They had come from the magma it had expelled. The Lord Stark will arrange according compensation, Isla said. As you said, this is a treasure to only Lady Starling. We don't need anyone being jealous. We live from the Starling lands, and by the Starling grace, milady, another man said. We are loyal to House Starling. Thank you, then, Danny said, standing up. Still, you brought me an immeasurable treasure. I insist in showing my gratitude. Anything you ask within reason will be provided for you. The men nodded, bowed, and left, thanking her and her generosity. Danny commanded the guards to bring the box to her chambers, and told Eerie and Araya to go look for appropriate boxes as she rushed after the eggs. Isla turned to her husband with a smile. Now this is something we hadn't considered before. She asked, What? The people who came here. They all came looking for a better life, because their current one was terrible. And most of them found it, because the island was empty and had so much space to offer. You don't see anyone going hungry here. They are more loyal. They won't betray House Starling. Benjen smiled. Now that is indeed something we hadn't thought of. Lyanna ran inside the room. She really did only run to places these days, and knelt next to her mother. What is, Mama? She asked, looking at the eggs. More? She certainly recognized what they were. Danny smiled. Yes, little love. We have more eggs now. Would you like one? Lyanna opened her mouth in shock. Will we, Mama? Me? You can choose one, Leah, Danny said, just knowing it was the right thing to do. Touch them, and take the one you like most. Lyanna opened her mouth in amazement, extending her hands to the box nearly reverently, looking back to Danny to check it was all right. Danny only smiled, and the girl went straight to the egg in the middle. Touch all of them, Leah, Danny insisted. See which one you like best. Lyanna pursed her little lips, but obeyed. In the end, though, she went back to the one in the middle. This, Mama! I want this! Danny chuckled. You really are a little winter rose, aren't you? Lyanna only smiled, hugging the egg against her chest. An egg as blue as frost. John climbed the steps of the solar in a sprint, feeling surprisingly well after receiving a raven from his lovely wife. Lord Commander, you sent for me? Aye,
Come in, Lord Starling. How was your hand?
Healing. Maester Aemon just changed the bandages and said I should be fine in a few more days.
Good, because I have something to show you,
Mormont said, motioning toward the table, and Jon stepped closer, frowning.
After my son dishonoured himself, he had the grace to at least leave this behind.
Valyrian steel, isn't it? Jon asked, examining the sword on the table.
Aye, the ancestral sword of House Mormont, Longclaw.
He stopped for a moment, as if gathering his wits.
Anyway, my only son has broken my heart, and he himself has declared he accepts the fact he did not deserve this sword. So it would please me greatly if it went to a man worthy of wielding it. A man who has saved my life.
Jon widened his eyes, suddenly realizing what the other man meant. But, my lord, I can't accept it. It's Valyrian steel. It's an ancestral heirloom of House Mormont. It should remain in House Mormont.
My sister sent it to me, and for years I have believed I would give it to a recruit I found worthy to follow in my footsteps. But so far, none have appeared. You have saved my life, Jon Starling. You and your wolf. I can see no one else more deserving.
Jon blinked. Are you certain, Lord Commander?
Aye, I'm old. It's time the sword went to a worthy young man.
Jon chuckled and nodded. Touched.
I am very honoured, my lord. Mormont smiled. I had our armourer change the pommel. Somehow I didn't think a bear would suit you. I didn't have a gem worthy of the position, so I'd have him put in a generic pommel. I'm sure your own armourer can find something. Oh, I'm sure he'd be delighted, Jon chuckled.
The journey beyond the gates of Castle Black was hard enough, and made harder by Adam's sombre mood. He still thought it was idiotic and pure stupidity, a risk unworthy of its payoff, but Jon hadn't changed his mind. So they were being called to say the least. The Lord Commander had decided to make it to a great ranging beyond the wall, so that the Night's Watch could also evaluate the whole situation. They passed through 6 wildling villages, all of them abandoned, and since no one had any idea where the wildlings had other villages, or even where Mance Rayder was, the Lord Commander decided to start by Craster's Keep, home to a wildling who lived alone with his wives, and usually helped the Night's Watch. Jon and Robb discovered through Edison Tollart that Craster's wives were, in fact, his own daughters, whom he married and had more children with. There is something deeply disturbing in fucking your own daughter, even if she's pretty.
Theon said. But what happens to the sons? Jon asked.
Dunno, Ed shrugged, and the one brother who asked didn't ask anything else.
It's disgusting enough as it is, Robb said.
Wait till you meet him, Ed mumbled. Then you'll think about disgusting. Jon couldn't help but agree with Ed, whom he had learnt was called a dolorous Ed by his brothers for his dry and pessimistic sense of humour. They were unloading their supplies to make supper for the night, when Sam bumped into one of the daughter wives. Oh, I'm sorry. He then noticed she had been crying. Hey, did I hurt you? She was scared, as if Sam was a threat to her. He raised his hands in a placating manner. I won't hurt you. I'm just worried. Are you unwell? The young woman was startled. Then she looked at Sam and noticed his clothes. His green cloak. You're not in the watch, are you? No, I'm not. My name is Samwell Tarly, but everyone really calls me Sam. She seemed wary. I'm Gilly. Hello, Gilly. It's nice to meet you. Could you... She looked around, as if afraid of her own shadow. Could you help me? Please, my lord, help me. She clutched to Sam's sleeves. despair clear in her voice and her eyes. "Hey, hey, hey! None of that," Sam said, a bit at a loss. "Look, come on, I'll find you some tea, and you can—" "No, no, no, no! If he sees me, if he sees us, if he so much as suspects—" "Gilly, what is it?" She sobbed, but Sam soothed her, and finally she opened up. John, Rob, Theon, and Adam were setting up a corner they were to share with Sam that night when he came to join them, his face set in a determined frown. Adam rolled his eyes. "We're already dealing with enough bad ideas from you to come up with a new one, Darley," he said, earning himself a glare from John. "We need to," Sam started. Adam rolled his eyes. "What is it with you boys and needing?" he asked, frustrated. "One of Craster's daughters needs our help," Sam insisted, not vexed. "They all need our help," Rob said. "Aye," Theon agreed. "Half of them are quite pretty. Too pretty for that bastard. Really, Greyjoy, they deserve help because they're pretty." "Your brain needs to connect with your tongue more often, Greyjoy," Adam added. "It might do you some good." "The point," Sam called attention back to himself, "is that Gilly needs our help. She needs us to take her with us when we leave."
"I think your brain needs to connect with your tongue, Darley," Theon said. "Sam, as much as I want to help, we can't do that." "It's guests' rights, Sam," Rob pointed out. "As disgusting as he is, that man opened his home to us. We can't just put one of his daughters in one of our sleds and take her with us."
"Even if she begs for it?" Sam asked. Rob nodded his head to the side, as if considering his argument.
"Sam, we're going deeper into Wildling territory," John reminded. "We can't take a girl with us."
"But you don't understand. She's pregnant, John, and she's scared. She's scared if it's a girl that she'll have her baby being, like her mother had to, become a wife of Craster. And if it's a boy, you notice yourself what we've got here, right? You asked, what happens to the sons? There are no boys around, only girls."
"He's got a point," Adam conceived. "Still, we are going to continue further north," John said. "And what are we going to do with a pregnant girl? And the baby? Who's going to deliver it? You, Sam?"
He shrugged. "I bet I could. I've read about it."
"You've watched it twice, haven't you, Starling?" Theon asked jokingly. "You could give some pointers." John threw him another glare. "Sam, I am sorry. I wish I could help. But right now, we can't take her with us." "How far along is she?" Rob asked, and everyone looked at him. "Look, it's not going to take us a whole year to find Mance Rayder and come back. If the Lord Commander is right, and we'll need to stop by here again, we can take her with us on the way south."
Sam wasn't the most pleased, but agreed it would be the best solution. Their night there was uncomfortable, as the wife kept looking at them from the balustrade as if they were exotic animals. Sam went in search of Gilly, finding her gathering twigs for the fire. "So you're leaving," she said, despondent. "We'll come back for you, I promise." Sam said, "You don't need to." Sam reached into his pocket. "This was my mother's. It's the only thing I have of her. She used to let me sit with her as she sewed, so I'd read to her. My father put a stop to it when he... Anyway, she gave it to me when I left. We thought I was going to join the watch. That was before I met John, and he helped me. Gave me a place to live." Gilly frowned. "Why would you leave if you didn't want to join the watch?" "Well," Sam fingered the thimble. "My father, he wasn't a nice man, you see. Kicked me out because he didn't want me to be the heir. So he needed me in a place no one would question how I couldn't inherit Hornhill. So up north, he sent me. But I met John outside Winterfell, and he decided to help me and petitioned the king to recognise my renouncement to my inheritance, so I was saved from my father. He brought me into his service and even gave me a castle and lands." Gilly was amazed. "He sounds like a king." Sam chuckled. No, John Starling isn't a king. He's just a lord. But he loves to help people, him and his wife. You'll meet her once we take you home with us. Lady Daenerys, she's lovely. Lovelier than the Queen. Though she was born a princess. Anyway, it's a long story. I'll tell you when we come back. But here." He gave her the thimble. "Yeah, I can't take it. It's the only thing you have of your mother's. You shouldn't give it away." "I'm not giving it away. I'm giving it to you. Besides, you can return it once we come back and take you south with us." Gilly smiled and accepted the thimble. Then they heard a noise, and she ran away before someone caught them speaking. Everyone was only too eager to leave, and they went back to trudging through the snow toward the Fist of the First Men, where they would meet the group coming up from the Shadow Tower. While the thick of the group stayed at the Fist of the First Men to set up camp and wait for the others, Jon, Adam, Ghost, the Starling Guards, and 3 other brothers of the Night's Watch left to see if they could find any game in the frozen woods. Ghost vanished almost as soon as they found cover among the trees. But Jon wasn't worried. His companion was a direwolf. With the sun up, there was nothing in these woods he wouldn't be able to defeat or outrun. They were nearly turning back, giving up on finding anything, and worried about the sun descending, when Adam suddenly stopped. Jon knew by the seriousness on his face that he was hearing something. The guards also stopped, looking around for the threat. The oldest black brother frowned, the most accustomed to these woods, and turned in the direction of the noise at the same time a gang of wildlings attacked, overwhelming them. Jon unsheathed Longclaw, parrying the blow of a wildling that was already on top of him, listening as the clearing became alive with the sound of steel against steel. But there were at least 3 wildlings for each of their group, and they fought with a brutality they had never seen before. Jon heard Adam yelling out a warning, but before he could turn to it, he felt a blinding pain on his head, and Longclaw slipped from his fingers. Fallen to the snow-covered ground, the last thing Jon saw before his consciousness left him was bright red hair. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that one. Woohoo, dramatique. So Jon's got Longclaw, Sam met Gilly. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you like the little accent I gave her. I always liked them. People saw them as filler, but that's kind of the point. They're the family dynamic that you're meant to be hoping for throughout the war. Like, the fact that a little family could be made throughout all of that. Love it. Anyway, you guys know the drill. Like, comment and subscribe and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye my guys, gals and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.